Hey guys, me again. I hope you're having a fantastic evening. Now tonight I'm going to be doing the third video in my Around the World horror series. Tonight we're going to look at my collection from Spain. So I've got a few films here. I want to get straight into it because I don't want to make this video too long. So the first film I'm going to show is a Guillermo del Toro Presents. Now this fooled me a bit. When I got this film I actually thought Guillermo del Toro directed it. I didn't read the cover properly, so when I got home I realized he wasn't the director. He was actually the producer. So I was a little bit disappointed in that, but I still had high hopes for this film, and this is called The Orphanage. And I can thankfully say this was a lot better than I thought it would be. This is a very, very powerful ghost story. If you like your ghost sort of mystery stories, definitely one to check out. It's a very touching, sort of very powerful film, but at the same time quite freaky. There are some really sort of suspenseful scenes in this. There is no gore, so gorehounds you steer clear. But if you like your films that are very powerful, have a very, very good story, and will last with you for a very long time afterwards, this is definitely a film to see. I was really surprised by this film, and I'm really glad that I have it because I've watched it hundreds of times. I really like this film. The next film, now in my French collection I was talking about a criminally underrated film. Now this film, a Spanish film, this is just as underrated. Now I can't believe more people haven't spoken about this film, and that is King of the Hill. I got this film, it was a pretty blind buy. I read the back, I thought it looked pretty good. It's basically about a man and a woman who are stalked through the mountains by a group of snipers. This is a really sort of suspenseful film. There is a bit of blood in it, and the ending was really, really powerful, and it made you think. It raised some issues that the world is facing these days. So a very, very powerful thriller. I can't believe more people aren't talking about this film. Definitely one to see. If you're a Spanish horror fan, this is another one you have to have in your collection. It's King of the Hill. Remember that title because it is a very good film. Now we go to Guillermo del Toro films that he's directed. This is his first film from Mexico. Now I know that's not Spain, but Spanish language, so I thought why not. Guillermo del Toro has made some films in Spain, so I'll just put this one in there. And that is Cronus. Now I know a lot of people like this film, but for me I didn't like it. I kept thinking that this was a Stephen King television movie, and that's the kind of feel it had for me. Really didn't do it. Ron Perlman, I don't like him. Now I'm sorry if that upsets a few people, that's my opinion. I just didn't care for this movie very much at all. Now, I'm sorry for all of you guys who like it. You can come onto my channel and you can abuse me if you want, but honest opinion, I just didn't like this film. The next one is another Guillermo del Toro film. This is a much better film, The Devil's Backbone. Now, it's not as good as his other film, which I'm about to get to, but this had some really freaky moments. The actual ghost, when you see him, was quite freaky, so definitely a film to pick up if you're a fan of Guillermo del Toro. The next film is his best film, and this film is on my all-time favourite top 5. Number 4 I think it was, and this is Pan's Labyrinth. Now for all of you guys who have seen this film, you know what I'm talking about. This is one of the best films ever made in my opinion. Brutal. Now I know a lot of parents have taken their children to this film thinking that it's a fantasy sort of kids film. It certainly isn't. They've got a rude shock when they took their kids there and they saw some of the brutal scenes in this film. This is definitely not a film for children. Do not take your children to see this film. It will scare them. The violence is brutal. It really is. There is a scene with a bottle that will shock you, and just really graphic violence. And I was surprised at the level of violence because I went into this thinking it was going to be a mild sort of, not a children's story, but it was going to be mild. But the violence really did hit me pretty hard. And I really like this film. It's one of my favourites. Beautifully made film. Fairy tale combined with a pretty brutal sort of war film. It's a 2-disc special edition. It's the edition to get. It's really good. Winner of 3 Academy Awards, so it got the recognition it deserved. You all have heard about this film. I'm pretty sure most of you have seen it. Yeah, a classic, and by far Guillermo del Toro's best film. The next one is a film that hasn't I haven't been this freaked out by a film since Pet Sematary when I watched it as a child. I've done a review of this very recently, and that is Wreck. This is a Spanish horror must. You have to have this in your collection. One of the most scary films made, in my opinion. I love this film. And then we have a sequel that, you know, it's really rare that you get a sequel that's just as good as the first one, and that's the case in this, with this film. Rec 2, not quite as good as Rec 1 in my opinion. I thought Rec 1 was a little bit more realistic and a little bit more scary, but this had some really freaky moments. I just thought the ending was bordering on ridiculous, but, you know, for a sequel, it's one of the best sequels out there, and definitely one worth getting. If you're a Spanish horror fan, you have to have Rec and Rec 2. Alright guys, that's my Spanish update. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.